Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again, and boy, have I got a breathtaking tale for you tonight. Let's see what the frozen north has whispered to me this time. Ah yes, here we are, the Res, northern Canada, where winter bites deep and the elders still remember the old warnings. Now, the Cree people know the price of disturbing what the ancestors sealed, long before the treaties, before the churches, before roads carved through the wilderness. They understood something about hunger. Not the kind that makes your stomach growl, the kind that hollows you out and wears your skin like a coat. And when they found one, when a person broke the deepest taboo and ate human flesh, they didn't just kill it. They couldn't. So they trapped it, sealed it in feeding pits deep in the earth, carved warnings into stone, and prayed no one would be foolish enough to open what they'd closed. But Kai, Talin, Asha, and Rowan, 4 friends bored on a Saturday, looking for adventure. They found a map marked "Don't Go Here." And like every group of kids who ever lived, they took it as an invitation, of course. This is your late night creature feature. Some caves breathe because something inside them is still alive. Before we begin, I'm curious, where are you listening from tonight? Alone in your room? Driving through empty roads? Walking through the woods? Drop a comment and let me know. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's talk about the hunger that never sleeps. Borrowed breath. Chapter 1, The Res. Saturdays on the Res. Same shit, different weekend. Caius Kai Saskatchewan sat on the hood of his beat-up Ford, chewing sunflower seeds and spitting shells into a dented coffee cup. The truck was older than he was inherited from his uncle, who died before Kai turned 16, paint flaking off the hood like dead skin, engine that coughed every third start. But it ran. That's what mattered. Talin Greywater paced beside the truck, restless energy in ripped jeans and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. We gotta do something, man. I'm losing my mind. You said that yesterday, Kai said. Because I was also losing my mind yesterday. Asha Firecloud walked up holding an iced coffee she definitely didn't buy on the Res, Starbucks cup. Probably drove 40 minutes for it. If I watch you 2 stare at the grain silo one more Saturday, I'm gonna scream. Rowan Little Crow trailed behind her, hands in pockets, quiet, always watching, never saying much unless it mattered. Kai looked at all 3 of them. They'd grown up together, same shitty elementary school, same basketball court with the bent rim, same aunties asking when they'd do something with their lives. Now they were 19, 20, 21, adults, technically. The Res felt smaller every year. Talin kicked gravel. Let's go somewhere. Anywhere. Asha raised an eyebrow. We're broke. Gas is almost $7 a gallon, Kai added, and this truck drinks it. We don't gotta go far, Talin said. He pulled a folded paper map from his backpack, sun-faded, creased to hell, with blue ink markings all over it. Asha blinked. You seriously still use paper maps? My uncle gave it to me before he died, Talin said. Worked logging up north back in the day. Told me there were places up there they sealed off. Places you don't go. Rowan's head lifted slightly. Sealed. Kai squinted at the map. Your uncle marked all this? Talin nodded and tapped a spot deep in the tree grid. Someone had drawn a circle around it in shaky handwriting. Don't go here. Asha leaned against the truck. So, we're driving into the bush because a dead guy's map says don't? That's the plan? Talin grinned. Better than counting how many pickups go past. Kai opened his mouth to shut it down, but Rowan spoke first. I had a dream last night. Everyone stopped. Rowan didn't joke. Ever. If Rowan said something, you listened. I was underground, Rowan said quietly. Couldn't see anything, just black, but I could hear breathing. Kai frowned. Like a person. Like the earth had lungs. Silence. Talin stared at him. That's creepy as hell, man. Rowan didn't smile. In the dream, something knew I was there. It said my name. Asha grabbed her camera bag from the back seat. All right, I'm in. Worst case, we waste gas and I get some cool footage. Talin slapped the hood. Yes, road trip. Kai hesitated. He looked at Rowan. You really think we should go? Rowan met his eyes. I think something wants us to. Kai exhaled slow through his nose, then grabbed the keys. Fine, but if we find meth heads out there, I'm using Talin as bait. Talin laughed. That's fair. They loaded up. Asha threw her camera bag in back. Rowan grabbed a flashlight from the glove box, batteries at 60%. Talin folded the map and shoved it in his hoodie pocket. Kai's aunt came out onto the porch, dish towel over her shoulder. Where are you kids going? Just to drive, Kai called back. She gave him that look, the one that said, I know you're lying, but I'm too tired to fight it. Be back before dark, she said. Kai nodded, even though he had no idea if that was true. They piled into the truck. Kai turned the key. Engine coughed twice, then caught. Black smoke puffed from the exhaust. Talin grinned. She's got character. She's got carbon buildup, Kai muttered. Asha filmed them from the back seat. Say hi to the camera guys. Document the last normal day of our lives. Rowan didn't look at the lens. Don't say that. Asha laughed. It's a joke, Rowan. Rowan stared out the window. Yeah. But he didn't sound sure. Kai pulled onto the highway and drove north. 30 minutes later, heading north. The roads got narrower. Houses thinned out to nothing. Cell signal dropped to 1 bar, then none. Trees closed in on both sides. Spruce, alder, poplar, dense, dark even in daylight. Kai drove. Asha filmed out the window. Rowan sat behind him, staring into the bush like he expected something to move. Talin unfolded the map again. Should be a forestry road coming up. Old one, probably overgrown. Kai slowed. You sure this isn't just an ATV trail? My uncle wrote it down, Talin said. He wouldn't mark it if it wasn't real. Rowan leaned forward between the seats. Or he marked it because it's dangerous. Talin shrugged. Only one way to find out. There, Asha pointed. A faded wooden sign hung crooked at the tree line. Road closed. No maintenance. Behind it, barely visible through overgrowth, was a dirt trail disappearing into the trees. Kai killed the engine. Nobody moved. Rowan's voice was barely a whisper. My dreams started like this. Talin jumped out first. Let's go. Asha followed, camera already recording. Kai looked at Rowan in the rear view. You good? Rowan swallowed. No. Yeah, me neither. They both got out anyway. Kai grabbed a coil of rope from the truck bed. Asha checked her camera battery 82%. Talin tied a red bandana to a branch near the trailhead. So we can find our way back, he said. Kai raised an eyebrow. You really think a bandana's gonna help? Can't hurt. Rowan stood at the edge of the trail, staring into the trees. The forest was too quiet. No birds, no wind, just stillness. Asha walked up beside him. You okay? No. You keep saying that. Rowan looked at her. Because it keeps being true. They started walking. Chapter 2, The Cave That Breathes. The trail narrowed fast. No tire ruts, no footprints, just moss and roots and trees pressing close on both sides. Talin led the way, map in hand. Kai followed with the rope. Asha filmed everything. Rowan brought up the rear, turning every few steps to look behind them. Kai noticed. What are you looking for? I don't know, Rowan said, but I'll know when I see it. 10 minutes in, the temperature dropped. Not by much, just enough to feel wrong. Asha stopped filming. You guys feel that? Kai nodded. Yeah. Talin rubbed his arms. It's like someone opened a freezer. The trees were too quiet. No birds, no squirrels, no wind rustling the branches, just dead silence and the crunch of their boots on frozen ground. Rowan stopped walking. The animals left. Kai frowned. What? Look around. No tracks, no scat, nothing. Animals know when something's wrong. Asha filmed the empty forest. That's not comforting. They kept moving, but the silence pressed down on them like a weight. Even their breathing sounded too loud. The trail opened into a small clearing. Not natural, the ground was too flat, too even. Old foundations of something long gone sat half buried in moss, rotted wood, rusted nails. Bits of metal that might have been tools once. Someone lived here, Kai said. Talin crouched by the foundations. Long time ago. Look at this wood, it's almost dust. And across the clearing, cut into the rock face, was a vertical crack, tall, narrow, like something had forced its way out from inside, or been forced in. Asha lifted her camera. What the hell is that? Kai stepped closer. Around the entrance, carved into the stone, were figures, thin bodies, starved, antlers branching from skulls. Not bears. Not moose. Human-shaped. Wrong. The carvings were precise, methodical. Someone had spent years, maybe decades, chiseling these warnings into solid rock. The figures weren't random. They told a story. At the top, a man, normal, human, holding a spear. Below that, the same man, thinner, ribs showing. Below that, the man on his knees, mouth open, consuming something small and human-shaped. And at the bottom, the man transformed, elongated, antlers sprouting from his skull, claws instead of hands. Talin crouched by the carvings. These aren't new. Rowan knelt beside him, tracing the lines with his finger. These are old, really old. Pre-contact, maybe. Asha zoomed in with her camera. They're all kneeling, facing the crack, like they were bowing to it, or begging it to stay inside. Kai put his hand on the stone, cold, colder than it should be, the kind of cold that sinks into bone. And then the rock inhaled. Not wind, not air pressure. Breath. Slow, deep, deliberate. Cold air pulled into the crack like lungs filling. The sound was organic, wet, rattling, alive, like something massive was drawing breath after a long, long sleep. Rowan jumped back. No, 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 no. The cave exhaled. A gust of freezing air blasted out, stinging their eyes, burning their throats. It smelled like old meat and iron and something sweet rotting underneath. The exhale lasted 5 full seconds, steady and patient, then stopped. Silence. Asha lowered her camera, hands shaking. Wind doesn't breathe. That wasn't wind, Rowan whispered. Talin stood, grinning to cover the fear crawling up his spine. Only one way to find out what's in there. He slid sideways into the crack. Asha hesitated, then followed. Kai swore under his breath and ducked in after them. Rowan stood alone in the clearing for 3 long seconds, staring at the carvings, at the transformed man with antlers, at the small human figures being consumed. Then he whispered, "I dreamed this," and stepped inside. The crack was narrow, shoulders scraped stone. The air was thick and cold, like breathing through wet cloth. The smell was worse inside, rot and iron and something else, something ancient. Asha kept filming, her flashlight beam cutting through the dark. The walls were covered in carvings, rows and rows of them. Hands, antlers. Thin bodies drawn smaller and smaller toward a seam deeper in the rock. But there was more. Between the carvings were symbols, circles, spirals, lines that branched like trees or veins, and words scratched in Cree syllabics, faded but readable. Rowan ran his fingers over them, translating slowly. Do not. Open. Do not. Speak. Do not. He trailed off. Don't what? Kai asked. Rowan's voice was barely audible. Do not feed. Talin ran his fingers over the carvings. Someone spent a long time on these. Generations, Rowan said. This wasn't one person. This was a whole community trying to keep something sealed. The tunnel sloped down and narrowed. Their flashlight beams bounced off walls that seemed to pulse, not moving, exactly, but alive somehow, watching. Asha's camera flickered. Guys, my battery's dropping fast. How fast? Kai asked. I was at 82% 5 minutes ago. Now I'm at 54. Kai checked his phone. 73% when they started the hike. Now 31. Something's draining our batteries, he said. At the end of the tunnel, a stone slab blocked the passage flat, squared, fitted tight. It wasn't natural stone. Someone had carved it, shaped it, fitted it perfectly into the opening like a cork in a bottle. Symbols were scratched into it, hands, spirals, kneeling figures. And at the center, carved deeper than the rest, an antlered skull with its jaw open wide. Talin crouched and ran his hand along the bottom edge. Someone sealed this. Kai frowned. Why seal a cave? Rowan's voice was quiet, to keep something in. The slab was old, ancient, but the edges were worn smooth, like something on the other side had been testing it for a very long time, scraping, pushing, waiting. Talin braced his shoulder under the slab. Help me move it. Kai hesitated. Maybe we shouldn't. Come on, Talin said. Just a look, then we leave. Kai sighed and pressed his hands against the stone. It didn't budge at first. Cold bit through their gloves. The stone felt wrong, not like rock, but like something else. Something that had absorbed too much cold for too long. Then it shifted. Just a crack. An inch. The tunnel beyond the slab exhaled wet, slow, deliberate. The sound rolled out like breath through teeth. And with it came a smell that made Asha gag sweet rot mixed with frozen meat and something metallic that coated the back of their throats. Asha's camera flickered violently. Guys, my battery just dropped to 20%. Kai's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. The screen glitched, pixels scrambling, numbers backwards, then went black. Talin's flashlight dimmed, then died completely. Rowan's flashlight followed, flickering out like a candle. Only Asha's camera light remained, weak and dying. Rowan whispered, "We need to leave, now." The slab shifted again on its own, pushing outward from the other side. Not them moving it. Something else. Testing. A sound came from behind the slab, not breathing this time. A wet scraping, like fingernails on bone. Then a whisper. Faint, barely audible, but unmistakable. Kai. Kai's blood went cold. Talin's hand slipped on the slab. He caught himself, but his palm scraped against a sharp edge. He hissed and pulled back. Blood welled up on his palm, just a thin line, nothing serious. But 3 drops hit the stone before he could stop it. The slab shuddered. The breathing on the other side quickened short, excited huffs like a dog catching a scent. Kai shoved the slab back into place with all his weight, breathing hard. Everyone out, move, now. They scrambled back through the tunnel, boots slipping on loose stone. The breathing followed them faster now, eager, no longer patient. Behind them, something heavy hit the slab. Thud. Testing it. Thud. Harder. Thud, thud, thud. They didn't look back. They burst into the clearing and didn't stop running. 50 yards down the trail, Asha tripped on a root. She hit the ground hard, camera flying from her hands. The lens cracked against a rock. Kai turned back. Asha. She pushed herself up, grabbing the camera. The screen was dead, spiderwebbed, useless. I'm fine, A sound came from the trees behind them. Not a crack, not wind, a wet scrape, like bone dragging across bark. Then another sound, closer, to their left. A low clicking, rhythmic, deliberate. Not an animal sound. Not human either. Rowan froze. It followed us. Kai grabbed Asha's arm and hauled her to her feet. Run! They sprinted down the trail. Branches whipped their faces, roots trying to trip them. Behind them, something moved through the trees, heavy, deliberate, keeping pace without effort. It wasn't running. It was gliding. Talin looked back once. Through the trees, two pale points reflected the dying afternoon light. Not eyes, bone, curved and sharp. And beneath them, something tall and impossibly thin moved between the trunks without making the branches sway. Don't look, Kai shouted. Just run. They reached the truck. Kai fumbled the keys, hand shaking so badly he dropped them twice. Engine turned over once, coughed, died. Come on, Kai hissed, cranking it again. Behind them, at the edge of the tree line, something tall stood perfectly still. Rowan saw it first. Kai, drive, now. The engine roared to life. Kai slammed it into reverse, tires spitting gravel and mud. As they peeled out, Asha looked back to the rear window. The thing at the tree line tilted its head. Slowly, deliberately. Its jaw moved opening, closing like it was tasting the air, like it was learning their scent. Then it stepped back into the trees and disappeared. The forest swallowed it whole. Nobody spoke the entire drive back to the res, but Talin kept staring at his palm, at the thin red line that wouldn't stop bleeding, and at the edges of the cut where frost was already beginning to form. Back at the res Kai's house, Kai parked in his driveway and killed the engine. The sun was setting. His aunt's house sat dark and quiet. She was probably at bingo. Asha sat in the back seat, reviewing her footage. Every file showed static, nothing usable. All of it? Kai asked. Every clip, Asha said. The files are there, but they're corrupted. Talin pulled out his phone. Mine too. Everything from inside the cave is just gone. Rowan stared out the windshield at nothing. We woke something. Kai frowned. Rowan. It breathed, Rowan said. It knew we were there. Asha unclipped her seatbelt. I need to go home. I need to think. She opened the door and froze. At the edge of Kai's yard, standing just inside the tree line, was a shape, tall, too tall. Antlers scraped the lower branches. It didn't move. Asha slammed the door shut, breath coming fast. It's here. Kai looked. Nothing. Just trees. There's nothing there, Kai said. Asha pointed, hand shaking. It was right there. I saw it. Rowan leaned forward, scanning the yard. Maybe it was a shadow. Shadows don't have antlers. Talin rubbed his face. We're all freaked out. Let's just get inside. They climbed out of the truck, moving fast. Kai unlocked the front door and ushered everyone inside. As he shut the door, he looked back at the tree line. Still nothing. But the air felt wrong, colder, heavier. He locked the door and pulled the curtain shut. Inside, they collapsed in the living room. Kai turned on every light in the house. Asha sat on the couch, camera in her lap. What the hell was that thing? I don't know, Kai said. Rowan's voice was quiet. Yes, you do. Everyone looked at him. Rowan met Kai's eyes. Your uncle marked that spot on the map for a reason, and Talin's uncle told him not to go there. They knew. Talin shook his head. Knew what? What lives in that cave? A sound came from outside. A slow scrape across the siding. Everyone froze. Kai stood, moving toward the window. Stay here. He pulled the curtain back an inch. Nothing. Just the empty yard and the dark tree line. Then he saw it. Frost. Spreading across the window glass from the outside. Thin lines branching out like veins, creeping toward the center. And in the frost, traced by something cold, were 2 words. Come back. Kai jerked away from the window. We're leaving. Now. Talin stood. Where? Asha's house. We stay together tonight. Asha nodded, grabbing her bag. As they moved toward the door, Kai's phone buzzed. He pulled it out. 1 new voicemail. From unknown. He put it on speaker. Static hissed through the phone, then a breath, then a voice stretched, wet, hollow. Kai. Asha dropped her bag. The voicemail ended. Rowan whispered, It knows our names. They ran for the truck. Asha's house, 11 p.m. Asha's mom was working the night shift at the hospital. The house was empty. They locked every door, shut every window, drew every curtain. Kai checked the back door twice. Talin pushed a chair under the front doorknob. Rowan sat in the living room, staring at nothing. Asha made coffee nobody would drink. We should call someone, she said. And tell them what? Kai asked. That a cave is breathing and something followed us home? The elders, Rowan said quietly. They believe us. Asha nodded. Rowan's right. The elders know stories. Old stories. Kai rubbed his face. Fine. First thing tomorrow, we find an elder. Someone who knows what the hell we're dealing with. Talin hadn't said anything in 10 minutes. He stood by the window, staring out at the street. Kai walked over. You good? Talin didn't look at him. My hand hurts. What? Talin held up his right hand. Across the palm, a thin red line ran from his thumb to his pinky, like a paper cut, except it wasn't bleeding. It was leaking frost. Kai grabbed his wrist. When did this happen? I don't know, Talin said. I just noticed it. Rowan stood and walked over. He stared at the cut, face pale. You touched the slab. So did Kai. But you bled. Talin frowned. I didn't bleed. You sure? Rowan asked. Talin thought back. The slab, his hand slipping, a sharp edge catching his palm. Maybe, he whispered. Rowan stepped back. It marked you. Asha's voice cracked. What does that mean? Before anyone could answer, a sound came from upstairs. A door creaking open. Slow, deliberate. Everyone froze. Kai's voice was barely audible. No one's up there. The sound came again. Footsteps, heavy, dragging, moving toward the stairs. Asha whispered, My mom's at work. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Stopped. Then a voice called down soft, familiar, wrong. Asha, you home, sweetie? It was her mom's voice. Exact cadence, exact tone. But Asha's mom was at the hospital. Asha's hand shook. That's not her. The footsteps started down the stairs, one at a time, slow, patient. Kai grabbed Asha's arm. Basement, now. They moved fast, quiet, down the narrow basement stairs. Kai shut the door behind them and locked it with a flimsy hook latch. Rowan found a wooden board leaning against the wall and wedged it under the door. Upstairs, the footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. Stopped, then moved toward the basement door. Asha pressed her back against the concrete wall, breathing through her teeth. The doorknob turned. Slowly. Testing. Then a soft knock. 3 taps. The voice came again, muffled through the door. Asha, why are you hiding, baby? Asha bit her lip hard enough to draw blood. Kai whispered in her ear, Don't answer. It's not her. Another knock, harder this time. Open the door, Asha. I'm worried about you. Talin grabbed a rusted pipe leaning in the corner. His hands shook. The doorknob rattled violently. The board wedged under the door held, but barely. Then the knocking stopped. Silence. Asha exhaled shakily. Is it gone? A sound came from the basement window high on the wall, barely big enough for a person to fit through. Scraping. Claws on glass. They all turned. Through the window, two pale points stared down at them. Not eyes, bone reflecting the basement light. The window exploded inward. Glass rained down. Asha screamed. Kai shoved her behind him. A hand reached through the broken frame too long, too thin, fingers bent wrong. Claws black as rot scraped the concrete floor, reaching, searching. Rowan swung the fire poker he'd grabbed, smashing it into the hand. The thing recoiled with a sound like wind through a broken rib cage. The hand withdrew. Silence. Then, from outside, a voice, Rowan's mom this time, perfect and wrong. "Rowan, baby, are you in there?" Rowan's face went white. "Don't listen," Kai hissed. "Little crow," the voice continued, soft and loving. "Come home. I'm worried." Rowan squeezed his eyes shut, tears leaking down his face. The voice changed. Talin's uncle now, rough, familiar. "Talin, boy, you shouldn't have opened that seal." Talin's breath hitched. Then Kai's uncle, the one who gave him the truck. "Kai, you know better than this." Kai's jaw clenched. The voices layered over each other, overlapping, speaking all at once, dead relatives, people they'd lost, voices they'd loved. And underneath it all, a wet breathing sound, in and out, patient, hungry. Asha pressed her hands over her ears. "Make it stop." The voices cut off. Silence again. Then a single word, spoken in all their voices at once. "Come back." Rowan grabbed Kai's arm. "We have to seal the cave." Kai nodded. "At dawn, we go back, we seal it, and this ends." Talin looked at his hand. The frost had spread. His palm was pale, bloodless, cold. "What if it doesn't end?" Talin whispered. Nobody answered. They huddled together in the basement until the sun came up. Chapter 3, Elder Rhea. Dawn came weak and gray. They climbed out of the basement, exhausted, shaking. The house was silent. No broken windows, no scratches on the doors. Like nothing had happened. But they all knew better. Asha checked upstairs. Empty. Her mom's bed was still made. She hadn't come home yet. Kai's phone buzzed. A text from his aunt. "Where are you? You didn't come home." He didn't reply. Rowan stood in the living room, staring at the front door. "We need to find an elder. Now." Talin sat on the couch, cradling his hand. The frost had spread to his wrist. His fingers were stiff, hard to move. Kai crouched in front of him. "How bad is it?" "Cold," Talin said. "Like frostbite, but it doesn't hurt." Rowan turned. "That's worse." "Why?" "Because pain means your body's still fighting." Before anyone could respond, a knock rattled the front door. Everyone froze. Asha whispered, "It's daylight. It can't." Another knock, 3 steady raps. Kai moved toward the door, slow, careful. He looked through the peephole. An old woman stood on the porch, raven black braids, wool coat, sharp eyes that could cut bone. Elder Rhea Crowfeather. Kai unlocked the door and opened it. Elder Rhea didn't wait to be invited. She stepped inside and shut the door behind her. "You 4, she said, voice low and controlled. "Sit." They obeyed without thinking. Elder Rhea locked the door, then turned to face them. Her eyes landed on Talin's hand. "Show me." Talin hesitated. "Now." Talin slowly unwrapped his hand. The split across his palm was wider now. Not a cut, a crack. Frost vapor leaked from it like smoke. Elder Rhea didn't touch him. She just stared, face carved from stone. Did you bleed inside the cave? Talin swallowed. I think so, when we moved the slab. Elder Rhea closed her eyes and took a long, shaking breath. You didn't move a slab? Kai frowned. Yes, we did. No. Her voice trembled for the first time. You moved a seal. She paced once, short steps, thinking hard. You four have no idea what you touched. Rowan leaned forward. We wanted to see what was inside. Elder Rhea's head snapped toward him. That place is not meant to be seen. It was buried for a reason. Kai's voice was steady. What reason? Elder Rhea turned to the window like she expected something to be watching. Long ago, before the treaties, before the missionaries, before metal and roads, our people trapped something in a feeding pit. Asha whispered. A feeding pit. Elder Rhea nodded. A hollow that is not earth, not stone. It breathes when it hungers. Talin stared at his hand. That's what we heard. When the hunger sleeps, Elder Rhea continued, the cave exhales warm air. When it wakes, it inhales. Rowan's voice cracked. We woke it up. No, Elder Rhea said. You fed it. Talin looked up sharply. With my blood. Blood is an invitation. Kai stood. What does it want? Elder Rhea didn't hesitate. More. Rowan swallowed hard. It spoke our names. Elder Rhea nodded slowly. Of course it did. A thing that starves learns quickly. It listens. It remembers the voice of anything that gets too close. Asha's voice shook. What is it? Elder Rhea met her eyes. Windigo. The word hung in the air like a curse. Rowan exhaled shakily. The hunger that walks. Elder Rhea nodded. It was human once. A man who ate his family during a hard winter. The act twisted him, hollowed him, made him into something that can never be full. She looked at Talin again. It will take your heat, your sound, your body, and then it will wear what's left. Asha sucked in a breath. No, we're not letting that happen. Elder Rhea's voice was quiet. You should not have touched that seal. Talin snapped. We didn't know. I know, she said. Kai stepped forward. How do we stop it? Elder Rhea pulled a small bundle from her coat wrapped in deer hide, tied with sinew. She placed it on Talin's split palm. He hissed, then froze. The frost stopped leaking. The crack didn't close, but it stopped widening. Elder Rhea whispered words in Cree, voice trembling. When she finished, she looked at Kai. You have to go back to the cave. Kai stared. Why the hell would we? You opened it, she said. Only you can close it. Rowan shook his head. We don't know how. Elder Rhea nodded. The carvings tell you. The old ones left instructions. Talin licked his cracked lips. Instructions for sealing it? Elder Rhea looked at the bandage on his palm. They left instructions for sacrifice. Silence. Talin's voice was barely a whisper. Sacrifice what? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. Talin's hand was already marked, and the hunger had already tasted him. Elder Rhea stood. You go at dawn tomorrow. I will prepare what you need. Kai grabbed her arm gently. There has to be another way. Elder Rhea looked at him with ancient, tired eyes. There is always another way, but the hunger does not wait. She left without another word. The four of them sat in silence. Talin stared at his hand, wrapped in the leather bundle. I'm already dead, he said quietly. No, Kai said. We're going to figure this out. But even as he said it, he knew. They'd opened something that should have stayed sealed, and now someone had to pay the price. Chapter 4, The Stalking. That night, they stayed at Kai's house. Safety in numbers. Kai's aunt was still at bingo, probably drinking with her friends after. The house was empty and too quiet. They locked every door, checked every window, pushed furniture against the entrances. Talin sat on the couch, staring at his wrapped hand. The frost had stopped spreading, but the cold remained. His fingers were stiff, numb. When he tried to make a fist, his hand wouldn't fully close. Asha sat beside him. "How you feeling?" "Like I'm dying from the inside out." She didn't argue. She'd seen the way the frost crept up his wrist, seen the way his breath fogged even though the house was warm. Rowan stood by the window, watching the tree line. The sun had set an hour ago, full dark now. The street lights on, the res cast long shadows across Kai's yard. Kai brought out blankets and pillows. "We sleep in shifts, 2 awake, 2 asleep." Rowan nodded. "I'll take first watch with you." They turned off all the lights except one lamp in the corner, made it harder for anything outside to see in. Asha curled up on the couch. Talin lay on the floor, wrapped in a blanket, shivering despite the layers. His teeth chattered. His lips were pale. Kai and Rowan sat in the kitchen, watching the doors. An hour passed. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the house settling. Then Kai's phone buzzed. He picked it up. One new text message. From Asha Firecloud. Kai frowned. Asha was asleep on the couch 10 feet away. He opened the message. "Kai, I'm scared." He looked at Asha, still asleep. Her phone sat on the coffee table beside her, screen dark. Another text came through. "Please help me." Kai stood, heart hammering. He walked to the couch and shook Asha's shoulder. She jerked awake. "What? Did you just text me?" "What? No, my phone's dead. Has been since the cave." Kai showed her the messages. Asha's face went pale. "That's not me." Another message appeared. "I'm outside. Kai, I can't get in. Please open the door." Rowan walked over, reading over Kai's shoulder. "It's mimicking her." A soft knock came from the front door. 3 taps. Asha stood, backing away. "Don't open it." The knock came again, harder. Then a voice, Asha's voice, muffled through the door. "Kai, I'm locked out. Please." Talin sat up, eyes wide. "That's not possible." The doorknob rattled. "Kai, please. It's cold out here. I don't understand why you won't let me in." The voice cracked on the last word, like Asha crying. Asha covered her mouth with both hands, tears streaming down her face. Kai grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter. "Stay away from the door." The knocking stopped. Silence. Heavy, wrong. Then a sound from the back of the house, a window sliding open, slow, deliberate. Rowan ran toward the sound. "The bathroom!" They followed. The bathroom window was open 6 inches. Cold air poured in. Frost spread across the sill in branching patterns like frozen veins. And on the frost, traced by something cold, were words. "Let me in." Kai slammed the window shut and locked it. As he did, he saw movement outside, a shape in the yard, tall, too tall, standing beneath the neighbor's pine tree. It stood perfectly still, facing the house. Then it tilted its head, slowly, like it was studying them, counting them, learning them. Kai yanked the curtain shut. "It's here." Asha's voice shook. "What do we do?" "We don't open anything," Rowan said. "We don't answer. We wait for dawn." They moved back to the living room, huddling together. Talin hadn't moved from his spot on the floor. He stared at the ceiling, lips moving silently. Kai crouched beside him. "You okay?" "I can hear it," Talin whispered. "Hear what?" "Breathing, inside my head." The house groaned, not settling, something else. Footsteps on the roof. Slow, heavy, dragging. Everyone looked up. The footsteps moved across the roof, stopping directly above them. Then silence. A wet breathing sound filled the air, not from outside, from inside the walls, from the heating vents, from everywhere and nowhere. In, out, in, out. Each exhale left a thin layer of frost on the inside of the windows. Asha covered her ears. "Make it stop," a voice whispered from the heating vent, Kai's uncle, the one who died before Kai turned 16. "Kai, you gotta let it in, boy. It's cold out there." Kai's jaw clenched, his uncle's voice, exact, perfect, even the slight rasp from years of smoking. Another voice, Talin's uncle, the one who gave him the map. "Talin, you made a mistake, boy. Time to fix it. Open the door and make it right." Talin squeezed his eyes shut, hands over his ears. Rowan's mom dead 3 years from cancer. "Little crow, baby, come home. Mama's waiting. Don't you want to see me again?" Rowan's breath hitched. Tears leaked down his face. Then a voice none of them expected. Asha's voice, but Asha was right there beside them, silent, terrified. "Guys, I'm outside. Why won't you let me in? Did I do something wrong?" They all turned to look at Asha. She stared back, lips trembling, shaking her head. The voice continued, coming from everywhere, the vents, the walls, under the floorboards. "I'm so cold. Please. I don't want to die out here. Kai, Rowan, Talin, please don't leave me. I'm your friend. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Please, please, please." "Shut up," Asha screamed. The voice stopped. Silence. Then laughter. Not human laughter. A wet, rattling sound like wind through a frozen corpse. It started low, then grew louder, echoing from every corner of the house. The breathing grew louder, closer. The lamp in the corner flickered once, twice, then died. Full darkness. Asha screamed. Something scratched at the front door, long, slow drags. Wood splintered, the sound of claws gouging deep furrows into the frame. Rowan grabbed his flashlight and clicked it on. The beam was weak, batteries dying. Through the window beside the door, pressed against the glass, was a face. Pale, stretched, skin tight over bone, eyes sunken deep into the skull, reflecting the flashlight like a cat's eyes, but wrong, cold, empty. And antlers, branching from the skull, scraping the window frame, too heavy for any human neck to support. It exhaled, and frost spread across the glass in spiraling patterns. The mouth opened, jaw unhinging, dropping too far, revealing rows of teeth filed to points. Then it spoke, all their voices layered over each other like a chorus. "Let us in." The window cracked. A hairline fracture, then another, spiderwebbing across the glass. Kai grabbed Talin and pulled him toward the basement stairs. "Move, now." They scrambled down into the darkness, slamming the door behind them. Kai wedged a board under the doorknob. Rowan pushed an old shelf against the door. The scratching continued upstairs. Glass shattered, wood cracked, heavy footsteps, too many joints, moving wrong across the living room floor above them. It was coming inside. They huddled in the far corner of the basement, breathing hard, listening. Footsteps above, slow, methodical, searching, moving from room to room. Kitchen, bathroom, bedrooms. Then the footsteps stopped at the top of the basement stairs. The door creaked open. 1 step down, slow. 2, deliberate. 3, patient. Kai held the knife in shaking hands. 4, 5. The flashlight beam flickered and died completely. Full darkness. The breathing was right there with them, In the basement, close enough to feel the cold radiating from its body. Talin whispered, "I can see it." "How?" Asha breathed. "The frost, it glows." And it did. Faint, pale blue light leaked from Talin's wrapped hand, illuminating the shape in front of them. Tall, too thin, ribs pressing against stretched skin like tent poles under canvas, arms too long, hanging past its knees, ending in claws that scraped the concrete floor. Antlers scraped the ceiling, shedding flakes of old bone. Its head turned toward Talin. The jaw opened, and it spoke in Talin's own voice. "I'm already dead." Talin stood, like a puppet on strings, like something else was moving his body. Kai grabbed him. "Don't." But Talin pulled free, walking toward the creature like a man in a dream. His eyes were glassy, unfocused. The Windigo reached out one long, clawed hand. Rowan lunged forward with the fire poker he'd grabbed earlier, swinging hard. The metal connected with the creature's arm bone cracked with a sound like dry wood snapping, but it didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. It turned its attention to Rowan. The mouth opened wider, impossibly wide, the jaw dislocated with a wet pop. Rowan screamed. The creature inhaled a long, pulling breath that sucked the warmth from the room. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in seconds. Rowan's breath came out as thick frost. His lips turned blue. Ice crystals formed on his eyelashes. His body convulsed, jerking forward involuntarily, pulled toward the creature's open mouth by the inhale. Kai charged, driving the knife into the creature's side. The blade sank in deep. No blood. Just cold vapor hissing from the wound like steam from dry ice. The Windigo shrieked a sound like wind through a frozen corpse, glass breaking, metal scraping bone, and recoiled. It released Rowan, who collapsed at the concrete, gasping. The creature climbed back up the basement stairs in jerky, too fast movements, joints bending wrong, body moving like a spider, and disappeared into the house above. Silence. Then the front door slammed open, and the breathing stopped. They didn't wait. Kai pulled Rowan to his feet. Rowan's skin was pale, lips still blue, but he was breathing. They ran up the stairs, through the living room furniture overturned, pictures knocked off walls, claw marks gouged deep into the wood, and out the front door. The truck was still in the driveway. They piled in. Kai turned the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, died. "Come on," Kai hissed, cranking it again. The Windigo appeared in the doorway of the house, silhouetted against the dim light inside. It took one step forward onto the porch, then another, deliberate, unhurried. The engine roared to life. Kai floored it, tires screaming, spitting gravel and mud. As they sped away, Asha looked back through the rear window. The thing stood in the yard, watching them leave. It didn't chase. Didn't need to. It tilted its head slowly to one side, and then it smiled. Not a human smile. A predator's smile. Because it knew where they'd go. It knew where they lived. It knew their names. Chapter 5. Elder Rhea's Preparation. They drove to Elder Rhea's house, a small cabin at the edge of the res, surrounded by protective charms and old symbols carved into the doorframe. She opened the door before they knocked. Inside, quickly. They stumbled in. She locked the door behind them and drew a line of salt across the threshold, then another across every window, then a circle around the entire inside perimeter of the cabin. "It followed you," she said. Kai nodded. "How'd you know?" "Because it always does." She led them to a table covered in items, bones, stones, dried herbs, a blade made of obsidian that looked older than the res itself. Bundles of sage hung from the ceiling, dried and ready. Symbols were carved into every wooden surface, spirals, hands, antlered figures bound in circles. This wasn't just a house. It was a fortress. You go back at dawn, she said. I will give you what you need to seal the cave. Talin sat heavily in a chair, his hand shaking. The leather wrap was soaked through with frost. Ice crystals had formed on the outside of the hide. Elder Rhea unwrapped it carefully, her movements precise and ritualistic. The split in his palm had spread. The crack now ran from his wrist to his fingertips, branching like a frozen river. Inside, they could see bone, not broken, frozen, blue-white and crystalline. The flesh around the wound was blackened with frostbite, dead tissue, but it wasn't rotting. It was preserved, like meat in a freezer. Elder Rhea's voice was quiet. It's taking you piece by piece. Talin's voice cracked. How long do I have? Hours, maybe less. Once it reaches your heart, you'll stop being you. Asha grabbed his other hand, the one that was still warm. We're not losing you. Elder Rhea looked at her with sad, ancient eyes. You already have. She reached for a clay pot on the shelf and removed the lid. Inside were herbs, some dried, some fresh, some Kai didn't recognize. She ground them together with a stone pestle, adding drops of something dark and viscous. This will slow the spread, she said, but it will not stop it. Nothing stops it. She wrapped Talin's hand again, this time with fresh leather and the herb mixture. When the paste touched his skin, it smoked and hissed like water on hot metal. Talin hissed through his teeth but didn't pull away. The Windigo cannot be killed, Elder Rhea said, pressing the wrap tight. Only sealed or fed. Rowan's voice was hollow. Fed? Elder Rhea nodded slowly. Blood and heat, a willing sacrifice. That is what the old ones did when they sealed the first feeding pits. She stood and walked to a shelf covered in old photographs, picked up one in a wooden frame. My grandfather, she said, showing them. He was there when they sealed the last one, 1937, up near Great Bear Lake. A trapper went mad with hunger. Ate his partner. By the time they found him, he'd already changed. She set the photo down. They couldn't kill him, so they led him into a cave with fresh meat. Once he was inside, they sealed it, 20 men pushing that slab into place. And they carved warnings so no one would ever open it again. Kai shook his head. There has to be another way. There is not. Talin stood, swaying on his feet. His skin was pale, lips blue, breath coming out in visible clouds even though the cabin was warm. Then I'll do it, he said quietly. No, Kai said. I'm already dying, Kai. You can see it. I can feel it. That thing is inside me now. In my blood. In my bones. If I don't do this, it'll take me anyway. And then it'll wear me like a coat and come after you. His voice broke on the last word. Asha's tears flowed freely now. Talin, please. I'm not letting this thing take anyone else. Elder Rhea placed a hand on his shoulder. The old woman's eyes were wet. You are brave, she said softly, but bravery will not make it easier. It will hurt. The hunger will drain you. Your body will fight, even when your mind accepts it. I know. She handed him the obsidian blade. The handle was wrapped in old leather, stained dark with age and use. When the time comes, she said, cut your palm again, deep. Let the blood flow freely onto the stone. The hunger will come. It won't be able to resist fresh blood from someone already marked. Talin took the blade with shaking hands. The obsidian was cold, sharp, ancient. Elder Rhea gave Kai and Rowan a leather pouch filled with ash, bone dust, and dried herbs that smelled like sage and something else, something bitter and old. Spread this in a circle around the slab, she instructed. When the Windigo feeds, when it is distracted by the sacrifice, you seal the cave. Use this. She handed Kai a small hammer and 3 iron stakes. Drive these into the stone, she said, into the symbols carved around the entrance. Iron holds what bone cannot. When all 3 stakes are in place, speak these words." She leaned close and whispered in Cree. The words were old, guttural, harsh on the tongue. Kai repeated them back to her. She nodded. "Do not look back at Talin. Do not hesitate. If you hesitate, the Windigo will take you both." Rowan's voice shook. "What if it doesn't work?" Elder Rhea met his eyes. "Then you run, and you keep running, because it will hunt you until the end of your days." She walked to a wooden chest in the corner and opened it. Inside were more bundles, sage, sweetgrass, cedar. She lit one with a match and let the smoke fill the cabin. "We smudge," she said, "to cleanse what's been touched, to protect what remains." She moved around each of them, waving the smoking bundle. The smoke stung Kai's eyes but smelled clean, pure. When she reached Talin, she paused, placed her hand on his forehead, whispered something in Cree that Kai couldn't hear. Talin closed his eyes. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Elder Rhea finished the ritual and set the bundle in a clay dish to burn out. "You have until dawn," she said. "Rest if you can. The hunger is patient, but it does not sleep." They stayed at her cabin until the first light touched the horizon. None of them slept. Talin sat by the fire, staring at the blade in his hands, turning it over, feeling the weight of it. Asha sat beside him, head on his shoulder, tears streaming silently down her face. Kai and Rowan stood by the window, watching the tree line for movement, watching for antlers, watching for breath made visible in the cold. At dawn, Elder Rhea opened the door. "It is time." Talin looked back at her one last time. "Will it hurt?" She didn't lie to him. "Yes." He nodded. They walked to the truck in silence. The air was cold, clear, the kind of morning that should have been beautiful. But all Kai could think about was the cave, and what waited inside. Chapter 6, Return to the Cave. The forest was different now, darker, quieter. No birds, no wind, no sound except their boots on frozen ground and the labored breathing of 4 people who knew what was coming. The trees felt wrong, too close, too watchful, like the forest itself had turned against them. Kai drove as far as the trail allowed, then killed the engine. He left the keys in the ignition this time, just in case. "We go in, we seal it, we leave," he said, fast. Nobody argued. They grabbed their packs, rope, flashlights, the pouch from Elder Rhea, the iron stakes and hammer. Talin carried only the obsidian blade, wrapped carefully in cloth. Rowan tied the rope around a tree at the trailhead, "So we can find our way back." Asha didn't say if we make it back, but they all heard it anyway. They started walking. The temperature dropped with every step, not gradually, sharply, like walking into a freezer. Kai's breath fogged. Asha's lips turned pale. Rowan's hand shook even inside his gloves. And Talin. Talin walked like a dead man, skin gray, lips blue, eyes unfocused. The frost had spread past his elbow now. His entire right arm was stiff, barely moving. Ice crystals formed on his jacket sleeve. Kai fell back beside him. "You still with us?" Talin's voice was distant. I can hear it calling. "Don't listen. It knows my name, Kai. It's been saying it all night, in my head, in my dreams. It's waiting for me." Kai grabbed his shoulder. "We're gonna make this right." Talin looked at him, really looked at him. And for a second, Kai saw his friend again, the kid who used to race shopping carts in the Walmart parking lot, who laughed too loud at bad jokes, who dreamed about leaving the res someday and seeing the ocean. "Thanks for being my friend," Talin said quietly. Kai's throat tightened. "Don't talk like that." "I mean it. You, Asha, Rowan, you guys made this place bearable. You made me feel like I mattered." "You do matter." Talin smiled. "I know. That's why I'm doing this." They kept walking. The forest grew darker the closer they got. The trees bent inward over the trail like they were leaning in to listen. Shadows moved wrong too fast, too deliberate. And underneath everything, a sound. Breathing. Slow, wet, patient. The cave was breathing again. They reached the clearing. The crack in the rock face looked wider than before, darker. The carvings around the entrance seemed deeper, more defined. The antlered figures stared out at them with empty eyes. And frost. Frost covered everything, the rock, the ground, the trees at the edge of the clearing, like winter had come early just for this place. Kai approached the entrance slowly. We stick together. No one goes off alone. They ducked into the crack. The cold hit them like a fist. Not just cold, absence, like all heat had been sucked from the tunnel and replaced with something else. Their flashlight beams barely penetrated the dark. The light seemed to die a few feet ahead, swallowed by shadow. Asha's breath came in short, sharp gasps. I can't breathe right. It's the air, Rowan said. It's too thin, like high altitude. They moved deeper. The carvings on the walls looked different now. The figures had changed, or maybe Kai's eyes were adjusting to the dark, but he could have sworn the kneeling people were facing them now, instead of facing the slab, like they were watching, judging. They reached the chamber. The slab was shattered. The 3 jagged pieces lay scattered on the cave floor, broken from the inside. Claw marks gouged the stone deep furrows where something had torn its way through. And beyond the broken slab, the tunnel stretched into absolute darkness. Asha whispered, "It escaped." Rowan struck a flare. The hiss echoed off the walls. Red light flooded the chamber, casting long shadows that danced and writhed. At the far end of the tunnel, something moved. Tall, skeletal, antlers scraping the ceiling. The Windigo. It stood perfectly still, facing them, watching, waiting. Its head turned toward them, jaw rotating first with a wet grinding sound, then the rest of the skull. Talin stepped forward. Kai grabbed his arm. Wait. Talin pulled free gently. It's me at once. The creature took one long, dragging step forward. The sound of its claws on stone echoed like nails on glass. Talin walked toward it, obsidian blade in hand. Each step was slow, deliberate, final. "Talin, don't!" Asha screamed, voice breaking. But Talin didn't stop. He stood 10 feet from the Windigo and looked up at it. The thing was massive, 7 feet tall at least, maybe 8. Ribs pressed against translucent skin like tent poles under canvas. Arms too long, hanging past its knees, ending in claws black as rot. Its eyes were empty sockets, but Talin felt it staring directly into him, through him, reading him. "I know what you want," Talin said. The Windigo opened its mouth. A voice came out, Talin's voice, but wrong, hollow, hungry. "Then give it to me." Talin raised the blade to his palm, the one already split and frozen and cut. Deep. Through the frost, through dead flesh, all the way to bone. Blood welled up, bright red against pale skin, steaming in the freezing air. The heat of it rose like smoke. The Windigo's entire body tensed. Its mouth opened wider, jaw unhinging with a series of wet pops. Talin dropped the blade and held out his bleeding hand. "Come and get it." The creature lunged. Chapter 7. The Sacrifice. The Windigo moved faster than anything that size should move, a blur of bone and stretched skin and hunger. Its clawed hand shot forward and pierced Talin through the chest. The claws punched straight through his ribs, exiting near his spine with a wet, tearing sound. Blood sprayed hot across the cold stone, steaming where it hit. Talin's body jerked once, eyes going wide, mouth opening in a silent scream. His hands grabbed the creature's arm instinctively, trying to pull it out, but his strength was already fading. The cold spread from the wound outward, not just cold, but absence, like heat was being pulled from his body in threads. The Windigo lifted him off the ground, claws buried deep, and Talin's feet kicked uselessly at the air. His breath came in short, wet gasps. Blood ran down the creature's arm in thick rivulets, soaking into its pale skin like water into sand. The Windigo absorbed it, drank it, and its body seemed to swell, ribs filling out slightly, skin growing taut. Asha screamed and ran forward, but Rowan grabbed her, holding her back. Kai stood frozen, knife in hand, watching his friend die. Talin's face had gone gray, his lips were blue, frost spread from the wound across his chest, up his neck, down his arms. His fingers stiffened, curling inward like claws. The Windigo leaned closer, jaw unhinging wider bone cracking as it opened impossibly far. It lowered its mouth to Talin's neck and bit. Not a ripping bite, a draining bite. Talin's eyes rolled back, his body shriveled in seconds, cheeks caving, skin tightening across bone, muscle dissolving beneath the surface like melting snow. His chest collapsed inward. His arms grew thin, skeletal. The warmth, the life, the heat, everything that made him Talin was sucked out through that bite. The creature drank and drank until there was nothing left. When it finally released him, what hit the cave floor wasn't Talin anymore. It was a husk, weightless, empty, skin stretched tight over bone, eyes frozen open, mouth slack, a dried-out shell that looked like it had been dead for months. Asha broke. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing into her hands. Kai's vision went red. He charged, roaring, slamming the knife into the Windigo's side. The blade sank deep, and the creature shrieked not one voice but many, layered over each other. Talin's voice was among them. K-A-I. Kai twisted the knife and shoved it deeper, pressing until his hand touched cold, wet skin. The Windigo jerked back, claws raking the air. It stumbled, wounded but not dying, never dying. Rowan grabbed the pouch Elder Rhea gave them and dumped the contents onto the ground, ash, bone dust, herbs. He used his boot to spread it in a circle around the broken slab pieces. Asha, now. Asha snapped out of her shock, grabbed the obsidian blade from where Talin had dropped it, and smeared his blood still wet on the stone onto the carvings around the chamber. The symbols ignited with red light, burning like a fuse. Rowan pressed his palm into one of the carved handprints on the wall. The cave responded. The ground shook, dust fell from the ceiling, the broken slab pieces lifted on their own, drawn together by something ancient and powerful. The Windigo lunged at Kai, claws outstretched. Kai ducked, rolling to the side. The creature's claws gouged the stone where he'd been standing. The slab pieces snapped together mid-air with a deafening crack. The Windigo turned, realizing what was happening, and scrambled toward the ceiling chamber. Too late. The slab slammed into place, sealing the passage. The creature's clawed hand reached through the gap at the last second, grabbing, scraping. The slab crushed down. The claws were severed, hitting the floor and dissolving into frost and ash. Behind the stone, muffled but clear, the Windigo shrieked. K-A-I-A-S-H-A-R-O-W-A-N. Then silence. Heavy. Final. The red light faded from the carvings. The blood spirals dried and cracked. The cave exhaled one last time, a long, slow breath that smelled like old death. Then stillness. Kai collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Asha crawled to Talin's husk and pulled it into her lap, rocking back and forth, sobbing. Rowan stood by the sealed slab, hands shaking, staring at the carvings. "It's done," he whispered, but none of them felt relief. They'd won, but the cost was too high. Chapter 8, What Remains. 1 week later, They held a memorial for Talin by the river. His family didn't know the truth. Nobody did. They said it was an accident, a fall in the woods, exposure, hypothermia. The body they brought back barely looked human, but the coroner ruled it death by natural causes. Natural. Kai stood apart from the others, staring at Talin's name carved into a wooden cross. He hadn't slept since the cave. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Talin's face, gray, frozen, empty. Asha stood beside him, camera in her hands. She hadn't filmed anything since that day. "I keep thinking I should have done something," she said quietly. "We all should have," Kai said. Rowan walked up, carrying a small stone. He placed it on Talin's memorial, like they'd been taught. "We sealed it," Rowan said. "That's what matters." Kai didn't respond. Asha wiped her eyes. "Do you think it's really over?" Before anyone could answer, Rowan's phone buzzed. He pulled it out. One new video file. From unknown. He opened it. Shaky footage. Dark. The inside of the cave. They hadn't recorded this. The video was from inside the sealed chamber beyond the slab, where the Windigo was trapped. The camera panned slowly across the dark, then stopped. On a figure. Standing. Facing the camera. It was Talin. Not the husk, not the frozen corpse. Talin. Whole. Alive. Eyes open. He smiled. And then, in the video, his mouth moved. No sound came through the phone speaker, but they could read his lips. "I'm still here." The video cut to black. Then a sound came through the phone, faint, distant, muffled. Breathing. Slow, wet, patient. In, out, in, out. The three of them stood frozen, staring at the phone. Rowan's hand shook so badly he dropped it. The phone hit the ground. The screen cracked, but the breathing didn't stop. It was coming from somewhere else now. Behind them, they turned slowly. At the edge of the tree line, barely visible in the shadows, stood a shape. Tall, too tall. Antlers scraping the branches. It tilted its head. Slowly. Watching. Kai's voice was barely a whisper. "Run!" They ran. Folklore note. The Windigo, sometimes spelled Wendigo, Whitico, or Witticow, is one of the most feared creatures in Algonquin and Cree mythology. It is not simply a monster, it is a warning. The Windigo represents the ultimate taboo, cannibalism. In the harsh winters of the northern forests, when food ran out and starvation set in, some turned to eating the dead. The act, it was said, twisted the person's spirit, hollowed them out, made them into something that could never be satisfied. The Windigo is always hungry, always cold. No matter how much it consumes, the hunger grows. It is described as tall, sometimes towering over trees, skeletal, with skin stretched tight over bone. Its heart is made of ice, its breath is frost. Antlers crown its skull, and its eyes are empty sockets that see everything. But the most terrifying aspect of the Windigo is not its appearance. It is the fact that it was once human. The elders teach that the Windigo can mimic voices. It learns the names of those it hunts. It calls to you in the voice of someone you trust, someone you love, someone you've lost. And if you answer, it takes you. The Cree and Algonquin people sealed Windigos in caves, in deep pits, in places far from human settlements. They carved warnings into stone. They performed rituals to keep the hunger asleep. But some seals were not meant to last forever. Some were only meant to hold until someone foolish enough came along and opened them. The breathing caves of the northern forests are real. Geologists call them breathing vents, natural formations where air pressure causes the cave to inhale and exhale with the changing temperatures. But the elders know better. They know that some caves breathe because something inside them is still alive, still hungry, still waiting. If you ever find a cave marked with old carvings, antlered figures, kneeling people, spirals carved deep into stone, do not enter. Do not touch the seal. Do not speak your name aloud, because the Windigo remembers. And once it knows you, it will never stop hunting. The old ones say, do not feed the hunger, do not open what was closed, and if you hear your name whispered in the dark, do not answer. Some doors are sealed for a reason, and some things are better left buried. Well, boys and ghouls, that wraps up another terrorific tale from the vault. Poor old Talin, tried to be a hero. Ah, so noble. Too bad. Sealed the cave, stopped the hunger, saved his friends. How sweet. Except the Windigo doesn't really care about noble sacrifices, kiddies. It just wanted a meal. And Talin, he was delicious. Hollowed him right out and left a pretty little husk behind. Just how we love it. And Kai and Rowan think they got away clean? Oh, that's adorable. The hunger knows their names now. It breathed them in. And that video of Talin saying, I'm still here? Well, something's still here, all right. But I don't think it's Talin anymore. If this story crawled under your skin the right way, hit that subscribe button. New creature features drop every day. And trust me, tomorrow's even nastier. Leave a like if you're checking the woods outside your window tonight. And drop a comment, where are you watching from? What cryptid haunts your neck of the woods? Have you ever heard something breathe that shouldn't be breathing? I'm always hunting for the next nightmare. Remember, some caves breathe for a reason. Some seals were meant to stay closed. And if you ever find a map marked, don't go here, maybe, just maybe, listen to it. Until next time, kiddies, keep your fires burning and your eyes on the trees. This has been your late night creature feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo, and the Wendigo is always watching.